Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Emily, I'm your local South African student teacher. I'm currently third year and today I am here to talk all about lesson plans. So the very first pointer that I have is to make sure that your lesson plans are targeted at the average learner. With that being said, you do need to, we'll touch back on this again in like a few seconds or a few minutes, but with that being said, you will have activities and other things in place for those students or learners who are a little bit more advanced and those who do struggle a bit as well. So what I would like to say is something that I feel like is very important and something that a lot of parents can sometimes forget, and a lot of teachers, especially when you're under a lot of stress, feeling, well, I've seen it in a classroom before, feeling stressed and then taking it out on the learners because they're not learning fast enough or they aren't smart enough according to your standard. That every learner is different and unique, and that means that they all learn at a different pace. They might be good at something, some might be good at maths, some might be good at languages, some might be good at life skills, some might have great motor skills, some might have terrible motor skills. Some might have really good fine motor skills to start off with, and some might need a little bit more practice. That's just how life works, isn't it? You got to work on these things, and remember yourself as a student. We have to remember ourselves as students that we have to remember being a student is you are busy doing the degree to learn. So you can't be a master of the degree if you haven't done the degree yet. And even so, you will never be a master of it. You'll be a master of certain things, certain subjects, certain parts of it. Even when you do graduate, I'm pretty sure there'll always be something to learn. Very much the same when you look at a learner. They will master certain things, but be good at other things, be average at at whatever else, and some things they might not be good at all, and that's why they have to practice. That's why we as teachers are there to guide them, to help them, to support them. Okay, so now that I've gotten that all out of the way, let's start from the top. So firstly, when you're writing a student plan, this is university related: your name, student number. Most of the time we have to write down which school we're doing the practical at, what language their home language is in that classroom, what grade it is, the date that we did the lesson. All of those things should go onto your checklist if that is part of it. Ours is in a table form. I will just show you this page because there are no indications of where I'm from on it, but basically that's what part of your tick list might be. I'm not sure about other institutions. I know our institution, but those are part of the tick list. Then you also need to have your theme and the subject that falls under the theme. So in the CAPS document, which I will do in another video as well, the CAPS document, you'll see that in life skills or in language or whatever, there will be certain topics. So if I can take a simple one like animals under life skills, it will be, your theme will be animals, but the subject which is under the theme might be wild animals or farm animals. So always keep that in mind. Refer back to your CAPS document and remember to always reference. I'll get into that into the CAPS document video. I'll show you an easy way to reference it, or how our university likes us to reference it. If your university doesn't have a preference, this could work for you. If they do have a preference, then I would definitely go according to that. Then just scrap everything I say. You'll then, like I said, give your referencing, and then your widened or your broadened, teaching goals will be, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that you should remember. Not all of them apply to all lessons. So this is a life skills lesson that I'm sitting with, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are part of this lesson. So teaching goals that are part of this lesson. So I'm just going to read them all, and then I'll explain to you why certain ones fall under life skills and why certain ones fall under language and maths and blah-de-da. And by doing so, I will then be basically giving you the definition or the rough definition of what each of them mean. So the first one is to develop problem-solving skills. That will be under maths for sure, because there's a lot of problem-solving skills there. There can always be problem-solving skills in a language lesson as well. And remember that a lot of it is integrated with the subjects that you are doing, especially life skills. You integrate maths into it, you integrate language into it. So yeah, problem-solving skills in a life skills lesson will come across as asking the learners questions. So this subject, the theme for this one is people in my community, and their problem-solving skills, or a question that you could ask them to target that development, would be, what type of people do we find in our community? What jobs do people do in our communities? And you would think that that's not really a problem-solving skill, but then you can also say, okay, well, we have nurses, and what do they do? And that's not necessarily a problem-solving skill, but it falls under that. Then we also have being able to be self-reliant, or that you are able to be independent. And that will be in answering questions, in showing that they are showing interest in what you are teaching them. I feel like, this is just my personal opinion, there are obviously like specific definitions to each one of them, which you should be able to get in your first year. If not, feel free to ask the lecturer. I'm sure they can help you with that. But these are just how I debate in my head when I'm ticking these off. Then you also have your communication skills. Are they developing communication skills when you are doing this lesson? In life skills, maths, and language, that will be tick, tick, tick. If you aren't ticking that box, then like you need to reevaluate maybe the way that you're giving the lesson, what you're teaching. Because in all lessons, especially in foundation phase, you should be interacting with the students. They should be answering your questions, and they should be able to communicate with you effectively, and that you are able to understand what they are saying and what their answer means. That means that the communication has to be effective on their side, and you have to ask the right questions. Then you'll learn this in your degree, what type of questions there are, but I'm pretty sure there's like 4 or 5. No, I'm lying. I think there's like 6 or 7 different types of questions that you can ask in different types of settings. But anyway, the next one is, are they building team working skills? So a lot of the time in a life skills lesson, which I will get to, you'll have a mini competition running, which is being in a team. The next one is, are they able to do research? So research, or navorsingsvaardighede, which is research skills, would normally come across in a maths lesson, because they have to research certain things, certain concepts, and remember certain concepts that they have previously researched, even if it is with your help, that they need to then, tick off, basically, or that they need to be able to do. The second last one is to be able to understand their surroundings, their environment. Are they aware of their environment? So this is bewustheid, or awareness of their environment. So spatial awareness, environmental awareness, all of that stuff. That is not just about, oh, I know about the community and I'm aware of it. It's actually being able to know that their fellow classmate is busy answering a question, so I can't, or I'm sitting in my spot and this is like, with certain questions that they are being able to ask. I hope that's I know that's very vague, but I hope it kind of makes sense. Anyway, the next one is being able to comprehend. So are they able to take one thing, link it to another, and comprehend that those two are kind of the same thing? If that makes sense. I hope that kind of makes sense. If not, you can always look it up. Maybe there are some better definitions online somewhere. I'm sure that there are. The next thing you're going to want to focus on is your introduction. So an introduction needs to be exciting. You need to get the kids on their feet. You need to bring actions into it. It needs to be like this, loud and exciting. Get them excited for what you're about to learn. Get them excited about being at school, that this is fun. Like, we're going to sing a song, we're going to say a poem, we're going to like each have a turn, or get them excited, build their confidence up, and introduce a little bit of competition. So this only happens in grade 1, where you introduce a motivation system, is what we call it, is a healthy competition between the class. So you can either divide them, just split them down the middle and say those are the teams. You can divide them boys and girls. You can divide them, if half of your class is 6-year-olds and half of them are 7-year-olds. You can just divide them however you feel you would like to. You can divide them in 2 groups or up to 6 groups, depending on how you would like to do it. You are the teacher in the classroom, so you decide. That's the great part about it. You decide what is best for you, and you decide what you think is best for your learners in your classroom. After all, you are the teacher and you know them best. Okay, so with that being said, the motivation system doesn't apply in grade R, because you don't want to get them motivated in that way, because they need to kind of get into this setting of, okay, we're learning now. So that's a learning curve for them. They've always just played, and a lot of grade R is playing, but you do start to do some, I know they don't call it that, they call it informal learning, but technically they're in a formal setting of learning. So yeah, that's how I see it. But we don't do that in grade R. We do it in grade 1. But other than that, you can do a game. You can do a poem. You can do a song. Make it really exciting. Do actions with it. Be loud. Be like in their face about it. Like, kids love that you are interactive with them. Get them involved. That's the thing. You want to grab their attention. Like, I don't know if you noticed, when I made the transition from talking about all the boring stuff, and I made the transition into getting into the lesson, it was loud and proud, and I tried to draw you in. I don't know if I did, but I try to pull you in, and now that I have your attention, we can move on to what you're going to do in the actual lesson. So that's the best way that I can introduce that. One of the most exciting things for a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old is to have a mystery bag, where they just put their hand in, they feel around what it is. I have a clear memory of this in grade R. My teacher we were learning about fruits, and she introduced it by putting our hand in a plastic bag that we couldn't see through with a pineapple in it, and it was, it's sharp, and it gets you intrigued, and now the kids are all going to be sitting there looking at you like, okay, what are we learning about? And it's so intrigued, you've captivated them completely, and that's one of the best ways to do it. Things to keep in mind is your CAPS referencing, especially when writing a lesson plan. Always CAPS reference. I promise you, if you forget a reference, you will get marks deducted. So please remember that these things are to help you get into the swing of things for when you are a teacher. You won't be writing lesson plans this in depth when you are a teacher. If you want to, because it feels like it helps you, by all means go for it, but it's a pain in the butt. If you know what I'm talking about, if you know, it's a pain in the butt to write lesson plans. So you get lesson plans, just a disclaimer, you get lesson plans, and then you get planning. Planning is writing down, okay, we're doing a lesson about fruit, so on this day we're doing the theme lesson, and on this day I'm doing the introduction, the main points, and then your conclusion. You'll just write down shortly, but then you obviously need to know exactly what you're doing, etc., etc. So another thing is, what you need to remember is, what are they learning out of it? What is their previous knowledge? What do they know already? How can I bring that into the lesson so that we can then build on what they already know, and also bring in extra new information, even if you then have to build a whole nother tower, if I could put it like that. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Okay, so then we're moving on to our main lesson part of it, which will be exciting. You're doing so many life skills. You are going to do a summary board where you have pictures. You have to have words with the pictures because they're doing emergent reading. In grade 1 they probably are already reading. In grade 2 and 3 they're definitely already reading. So you need to make sure that they are connecting certain concepts to words as well. So that's where you integrate the language. You like, okay, we're learning about fruit, so let's talk about the seasons, and let's talk about how many fruits we should eat in a day. That's integrating maths. So you're having a whole discussion as you are putting pictures up on the board, and you're asking your questions. So in your lesson plan, you put in the optimal questions that you can ask, remember, aimed at the average student, so that you know that those learners will be able to, now that I think about it, me saying students and learners the whole time, choose one word when you're doing the assignment and make sure, or your lesson plan, make sure you stick to it, because I've got caught in that trap before and it's not pretty. Anyway, so then you're just discussing all the points and whatever, and then they go on to do their worksheet, which you have made up and already set up for them. Then you're going to try and do something that's more or less group work. Try and bring in group work. Always try and bring in group work. But depending on what university you're going to, they will give you a rough structure of what they would like to see in your lesson. But you'll always get a bonus point for mentioning that you're going to have a worksheet, for mentioning that you're going to include group work. All of that, mentioning that you're going to have a board summary, mentioning that you're going to have a theme table. A theme table is like a table filled with books and props and things. Filled, if you're doing the topic of fruit, bring the fruit to school, show them, let them touch it. Don't really let them taste it, because let me tell you why. Some of them might have allergies, and then that's very scary. So maybe don't take that risk. Let them smell it, let them touch it, let them use their senses to embody themselves in the lesson, to put themselves in that position. And that is so important for young learners when they are learning, because that's how they learn. They learn through physically doing something. That's why in your first year, if you do it like we do, when you're learning about grade R's, you will always learn that the best way that they learn is through play. And that means that they learn the best through physically doing something. So definitely try and bring that in, whatever you're talking about. So if that is people in your community, and people in your community is then the doctor, bring a stethoscope to school. Let them put it in their ears, make sure to sanitize it afterwards, but let them play with the things. Let them be included in the lesson. Don't just talk to them. Don't just be like, okay, we have a doctor, and a doctor has a stethoscope and he makes sure that your heart is healthy. Like, they're going to be like, they're going to be so bored. Make sure that it's interactive, because it's exciting for you, it's exciting for them, it keeps you all awake. The next thing is the ending of the lesson. So you will then bring the whole lesson together, ask some recap questions, then you will also you'll bring their attention back to the motivation system, which I said before was our competition, which your one group you'll tally up the points. The way that you do a motivation system is basically on points. So if they're well behaved, they get a point. In terms of pets, you'll have a dog and a cat. So one team is the dog, one team are the cats. And so every time they answer a question correctly, or every time they behave or listen or blah blah blah, you will then give their team, their dog, a bone, and you will give their cat a treat or whatever it is, to count up the points. And then at the end of the lesson, you come back to that, you talk about it, you show which team wins. They'll receive a small prize, like being able to line up first to go out to break. That's very exciting to grade ones. So and then recap with questions. Make sure that most of them have listened. If you find that some kids have struggled, you then have intervention measures, and you also have children who might be bored. You will clearly see that. if they are bored, you need to have things in place to then enrich them. So it's called enrichment activities, where you will then come up with a worksheet or a game or whatever to then really draw them in, to get them interested in what you're talking about. It might be a little bit more advanced than what the other kids are doing, but it will definitely keep them interested and keep them on track as well. So then if you look on the flip side, when you need to do some intervention, it will be talking about it again, maybe bringing a different game in, trying a different method. It's up to you how you're going to go about that. And then in your lesson plan, you will also have to say how you will assess them. Most of the time it is through just observing them, through looking through their worksheets, all of that. And then you're going to write down what you would like to achieve in this lesson, all of that. You will also write down all the materials that you will need in the lesson, during the lesson. So that will be your pictures and your name thing, I will say a naamkaart, but that's actually a label. So yeah, that's the lesson plan. Those are some things to keep in mind. That's a step-by-step how to do a lesson plan, more or less. I know every university is different, but I hope that this video helped. That's all from me today, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!